Today, I'm going to share 3 progressively more disturbing stories. At the end of each one, I'll show the photo famously associated with it, but before we dive in, if you love the strange, dark, and mysterious told in a story format, then you're in the right place. That's exactly what we do here, and we upload 2 to 3 times every week. So, if that sparks your curiosity, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss one of our uploads. Trust me, you'll want to be here every week. Story 1, the last public execution in France. Just after midnight on June 17, 1939, a crowd began forming outside an unremarkable building in Versailles, France. There was a strange tension in the air. Some people laughed and drank to calm their nerves, while others were somber, whispering quietly among themselves. Everyone knew why they were there. Everyone understood the gravity of what they were about to witness. By 1:30 a.m., the doors of the building opened, and a group of men in dark uniforms emerged. They carried wooden planks, hammers, and other tools, immediately silencing the crowd. Without a word, they began constructing a strange wooden structure, muscle memory guiding each movement as if they had built this exact device dozens of times before. Slowly, a half-moon of spectators formed around them, eager to see but hesitant to approach too closely. By 3 a.m., the structure was complete. A large basket sat next to it. The men packed up their tools and lumber and disappeared back inside. The crowd grew restless, knowing that the spectacle they had come to see was imminent. They whispered nervously, this event couldn't happen in daylight. Officials wanted the darkness to obscure their actions from the press, to maintain a level of secrecy. Yet, despite their planning, the sun began creeping over the horizon, and at 4:50 a.m., the doors swung open. Standing in the doorway was 31-year-old Eugene Weidman, a convicted serial killer. His arms were tied behind his back, the collar of his white shirt tucked down to leave his neck exposed. Guards guided him forward to the guillotine, the wooden structure that had been meticulously built hours earlier. The crowd erupted, cheering, shrieking, and pointing as Eugene approached the platform. He kept his head down, refusing to meet the eyes of the bloodthirsty spectators. The executioners, dressed entirely in black, positioned themselves. Eugene was slid forward until his head protruded through the guillotine's opening, resting above a metal bucket that would catch it. The blade dropped with terrifying precision, and in an instant, Eugene Weidman's head was severed. The crowd roared, some pressing their handkerchiefs to soak up the blood as souvenirs. The events were photographed and captured on film, cementing the gruesome spectacle in French history. Interestingly, after a decapitation by guillotine, the head remains conscious for 10 to 12 seconds. There are accounts of heads blinking, trying to form words, or turning toward executioners who called their name, a haunting reminder of the thin line between life and death. French authorities, embarrassed by the public's violent fascination, moved executions behind closed doors after this day. Here is the infamous photograph of Eugene Weidman moments before the execution. Story 2, the radioactive miracle, Eben Byers. Eben Byers was the epitome of privilege. Born into wealth in New York City, he attended Yale, was strikingly handsome, and became a world-class golfer. By 1906, he won the U.S. amateur golf tournament, but his life took a different path when his father handed him control of a lucrative metalworking business. Overnight, Eben went from wealthy to fabulously wealthy, acquiring luxury properties, horse stables, and even a personal box at Forbes Field. By 1927, at age 47, Eben took a trip to his alma mater to watch a football game. On the return train, while sleeping in his top bunk, he rolled out and landed hard on his left arm. Initially, he ignored the pain, hoping it was nothing serious. But upon returning to Pittsburgh, he sought his physical therapist, who suggested a new, expensive tonic called Radithor. Promising energy and pain relief, Eben began taking it religiously. Radithor was radioactive water, containing radium, a substance then thought to have miraculous health benefits. Eben, captivated by its effects, took increasing doses far beyond the prescribed amount. For 3 years, he consumed it daily. At first, it seemed miraculous. He felt energized, healthier, stronger. But in 1931, the unthinkable happened: his jaw fell off. Literally. His lower jaw separated from his skull. Surgeons removed large portions of his jaw, but the damage from the radium was systemic. Eben's bones disintegrated, holes appeared in his skull, exposing his brain. By 1932, Eben Byers was dead. His body was so radioactive that he had to be buried in a lead-lined coffin. Decades later, scientists exhumed him and found that his skeleton still emitted radiation. The half-life of radium is 1,600 years. The story of Eben Byers serves as a terrifying example of unchecked scientific enthusiasm and the dangers of trusting miracle cures blindly. Here is a photograph of Eben Byers with his jaw surgically removed. Story 3, The Subway Tragedy, Kai Sakan. On December 3, 2012, freelance photographer Umar Abaisai descended the stairs of the 49th Street subway station in New York City. The station, a few blocks from Times Square, was crowded. Umar purchased a ticket and walked along the platform, noticing a gap in the throng of commuters. He positioned himself there, checking his camera. Two men were arguing nearby, their voices sharp and heated, but Umar ignored them, focusing on his photography. Suddenly, chaos erupted. A woman screamed, pointing toward the train tracks. One of the men, Kai Sakan, was lying face down on the rails, and the headlights of an oncoming train illuminated the scene. Umar sprinted, using his camera's flash to alert the conductor, but the man on the tracks struggled in vain. Seconds later, the train struck Kai, killing him instantly. The other man, 30-year-old Naeem Davis, claimed self-defense, stating that Kai had been aggressive. The media, however, sensationalized a photograph Umar had captured just before the accident, depicting Kai in a vulnerable position. Public opinion immediately condemned Davis. Yet, 5 years later, the court acquitted him after video evidence showed Kai was intoxicated and aggressive, forcing Davis to push him, resulting in the accidental fall. Here is the infamous photograph of Kai Sakan moments before the tragedy, as published on the New York Post. Engage with us. If you're following along, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share this video with friends who love dark and mysterious stories. It really helps support the channel and allows us to keep bringing these tales to life. The narratives of Eugene Weidman, Eben Byers, and Kai Sakan reveal something chilling about human nature and circumstance. In Versailles, we see society's macabre fascination with death. Eben Byers shows the peril of blind faith in miracle solutions, while Kai Sakan's story highlights how fleeting moments in public perception can define lives. Each story is a reflection of fear, fascination, and tragedy, reminding us of the thin line between control and chaos. Let's examine the context behind these events further. Public executions, for instance, were as much about spectacle as punishment. Crowds came not only for justice but for entertainment, a reality we struggle to comprehend in today's society. The guillotine, efficient and terrifying, symbolized both the state's authority and society's complicity. Meanwhile, Eben Byers' case underscores the early 20th century's dangerous experimentation culture. Radium's allure was irresistible; it promised vitality, energy, and invincibility. Society trusted scientists and products blindly, a reminder that scientific curiosity without ethical constraints can have fatal consequences. Eben's story is one of hubris and tragedy, and it forced regulatory reform, reshaping how health products were tested and marketed. The subway tragedy of Kai Sakan illustrates another element: perception versus reality. The photograph, frozen in time, became a public judgment, influencing opinion long before legal proceedings concluded. It raises questions about media responsibility, ethics in photography, and how singular moments can define a person's narrative inaccurately. Here's a call to action: if you're captivated by these dark stories, please subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you won't miss future uploads. Share your thoughts in the comments. Which story affected you the most and why? Now, beyond the facts, consider the psychological threads connecting these stories. Fear, fascination, and mortality shape human behavior profoundly. Spectators at a guillotine, consumers of radioactive health tonics, and even subway commuters all navigate fear in different forms: the anticipation of violence, the allure of immortality, and the threat of accidental death. These forces are universal, timeless, and deeply human. Even in death, these stories leave marks. Photos, film, media coverage, and scientific studies preserve fragments of lives and choices. Eugene's decapitation was photographed, Eben's decay documented, and Kai's tragic moment frozen in time. These images challenge us to reflect: what do we witness, what do we intervene in, and how do we interpret events that aren't fully understood? Finally, these stories remind us that reality often defies expectations. Public execution spectators expected justice but witnessed horror. Eben sought vitality and met disintegration. Kai's death was misinterpreted by the masses. Life's unpredictability and the fragility of human perception are constant themes in history, media, and personal experience. If you found today's stories gripping, haunting, or informative, please hit like, subscribe, and share. Your support allows us to continue exploring these strange and mysterious tales. Comment below with the story that disturbed or fascinated you the most. We may feature your thoughts in an upcoming video. Remember, whether in France, early 20th century America, or modern-day New York City, human behavior under pressure, whether from fear, excitement, or ambition, can lead to tragedy, spectacle, and irreversible consequences. Thank you for staying with us through these stories. If you want even more, check out our merchandise at shopmrball.com, follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Reddit, and don't miss our secondary YouTube channel, Mr. Ball and Shorts, where we post condensed or additional versions of these stories. Until next time, remember to like, subscribe, and share. Your engagement allows us to continue unraveling the strange, dark, and mysterious stories the world has hidden for decades.